Greetings and salutations, viewers. We're the Land Stars, and be wary of when you eat your avocados on this episode of Stories, The Path of Destinies.
It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base.
Maybe it's like with the gremlins, you just can't have an avocado after midnight.
The Sky Ripper had surfaced.
But it's always midnight somewhere.
Catastrophically wrong.
But what if it's midnight where you are exactly?
Figure out how to use it safely.
What if it's midnight in Paris?
A temple had risen out of empty
Is it ever midnight in Paris?
The stone was hidden there.
That's one of like 3 Woody Allen films I've seen.
Well, yeah, one of them you saw with me.
Yes. Woody Allen did not need to be in that Woody Allen movie.
No, he really didn't. He was easily the worst part.
Yeah. It was a fun movie. It wasn't as good as... I wouldn't say it was as good as Midnight in Paris or whatever works, but it was fine. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that
Also,
to his advantage.
Hugh Jackman and Scarlett Johansson, so...
Let's go to, you know what? Clearly getting the core by itself was a bad idea, so clearly we need the armature. So let's do the middle one.
Okay.
Every child knew about the Sky Ripper. The Transcendent Emperor had buried its pieces deep.
Blah, blah, blah.
Horrific sacrifice.
Yeah, sadly we cannot skip cutscenes, much as we want to.
Sure how to use the legendary weapon.
At least they were nice enough to do that in Omen Sight as well.
Some way to do it without provoking another catastrophe. Had he somehow summoned the long-lost components of the legendary weapon?
No, see, he summoned the great and powerful Oz.
But if he could find a legendary weapon, he would
He
use
is
it.
green after all. Well, actually, no, he's not. He's kind of reddish.
As he set foot on the island, Bernardo couldn't help feeling a bit curious. Was
blah, 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 blah.
Yakety
He
schmackety.
was probably drinking champagne with the ravens.
All you got is that blah, 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 yakety schmackety.
Drink your OJ.
Why don't you have a cool, refreshing glass of OJ? Again, I remember almost nothing of Tasmania. I remember I watched it, I remember I loved it, but like the details.
Yeah, pretty much.
He'd have to devote himself to it.
Like, the most I remember is like the dad was obsessed with OJ, the sister was typical teen, and they had a pet turtle who thought he was a dog.
There was hyperactive younger brother as well.
Yeah.
And the dad was just straight up Bing Crosby. He was a Bing Crosby impersonation.
Mm-hmm. And then there was this one dingo guy who was a bit of a jackass.
Yeah.
No one would notice the lever.
He was voiced by Rob Paulson, wasn't he? Then again, I feel like everybody in that show was probably voiced by Rob Paulson.
I mean, if it wasn't Rob Paulson, it was probably Jim Cummings.
Mm-hmm.
Did they even know what monster?
Or considering it was the 90s, Tim Curry. I almost said Jim Carrey. What?
I was watching a thing talking about one of the Scooby-Doo animated films, and Tim Curry voices a thing in that, and the reviewer's like, well, that's the bad guy. Oh, we love you. Haven't you seen an animated movie ever?
Let me guess, it was The Witch's Ghost.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I liked Zombie Island just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Even though the cat creature plotline was kind of dumb.
It was. The Scooby-Doo movies of the late 90s kind of went hard.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we'll have you fight actual monsters, why not?
Yeah, the big hook on that was, this time the monsters are real. And it was real for at least the first 3, and then after that, not really. Well, sorta with the alien invaders, because the bad guys themselves weren't aliens, but Shaggy and Scooby's girlfriends were. It just made me happy because it was a golden retriever. And her name was Amber, which was the name of the one plushy golden retriever that my mom has.
Aw.
Yeah. Did we read you? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. Let's see. Yeah, we did.
Yep.
Renato was looking for a big chest. Wait, that didn't sound right.
So is Coke Zero your favorite, or are you just a Coke fan? I mean, a fan of Coke. Yeah, like I was literally midway through typing that, and I'm like, I need to phrase that differently.
There was a cat in this one. And
But was it dead or alive? Also, was it a zombie?
We have the Necro Cat.
Does it hate the sound of, what was it, Barry Manilow?
Probably.
I forget which band you used for that video. I just remember it was like, every time he wanted to get jiggy with his wife, the cat would scratch him.
Oh, it was Barry White. Barry White.
Okay.
Yeah. Troy and I had so much fun recording that. And it's funny because, like, I got that dare from the magical dare wheel that morning, so, like, and that was during that stretch of time where I was the only person in the kitchen.
Yep.
So I had to, like, find a time, search the entire building for Troy, and take time to record that. The video that was funnier than that was the video which Troy recorded about, like, how are you coping with all the lockdowns and not being able to leave your house? Well, I've been doing all of these things, and, people have been worried about nutrition, but I have a way to deal with that. He opens the back of his truck, there I am with a plate of food and, like, a couple of bottles of alcohol for him.
There it goes. Sky Ripper's army.
He's like, do you want to do that? And I'm like, oh my god, the idea that you've kidnapped me and have been keeping me in your van this entire time is hilarious. We must do this.
And then they were probably like, no, that's a little sketchy.
The classroom, the teachers absolutely thought it was hilarious.
Sky Ripper had a heart, a core that had come to rest on the next island. Well,
Like, it just reminded me of when Robin Williams was on Inside the Actor's Studio, and he was talking about how he was doing the voice of the genie, and they were very particular about what he could ad-lib. Like, it's Disney! The mouse doesn't have genitals!
That made no sense at all. He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this...
Let's go see Zenobia, why not?
Okay.
He didn't need to hurry to face her. She would find him.
Oh, she would. She would find him all right.
Renato asked himself why he changed course to confront Zenobia. He'd no idea. Sometimes he would just do things, and he could never figure out why he'd done them. Usually, they worked out.
It's almost
After
like
all,
my life is being
he was a
controlled by
hero.
some outer force.
I loved that particular joke when they did it in Day of the Tentacle. I'm sorry, I don't understand why I did that. I sometimes do things that I don't understand. He proceeds to look directly at the player.
He was his enemy. No, it was solely because know your enemy. All right, maybe he should stop pretending. He knew exactly how she felt about him. But their love affair always ended with a tragic death.
Mainly because she tends to choose her adoptive father, who is willing to murder her for power.
Surely he could.
There are actually endings where you get her to join. We will be seeing them sooner or later, but for now...
Exactly. For now, we're just going with the flow.
Oh man, that brings to mind the Claymation Easter, which for years my parents thought I had hallucinated. And then they got me the DVD with Claymation Christmas on it, and I pull it up, I point to the back, and I'm like, see? It's real, damn it!
Just like the Sega, whatever it was that you thought you dreamed up to.
The Sega Saturn.
There we go.
God, Sega really... The Saturn is not a bad console. Sega made so many bad decisions going into it. Like, all three of the consoles of that generation had flaws compared to each other. Like, the N64 potentially had the most power under the hood, but because it was using cart-based things, you could only store so much information on it. The Sony PlayStation had, like, the least amount of power under the hood, but was the easiest to program for. The Saturn, number one, was originally designed for, like, 2D things, so it could do 2D things really well. If you knew what you were doing, you could do some really creative things with it. The problem was, it was a bitch and a half to program for. Because it used, like, two separate processors that you needed to make talk to each other, as opposed to the, one-chip solutions in both the N64 and the Sony PlayStation. So yeah, like, none of them were necessarily, like, definitively the best. And that's my TED Talk on console history.
Hot.
Hey. And of course, there are several points during the design of the Saturn where Sega kind of screwed the pooch. Like, the president of Sega of America and the president of Sony Computer Entertainment America were attempting to make a strategic alliance, but Sega of Japan was not a fan. So that caused Sony to strike out on their own and make a PlayStation. During the course of designing the Saturn, I can't remember the name of the company, but this one company comes up to Tom Kalinske of Sega of America, and they're like, hey, we have this chip solution that might be great for the new console that we know you're making. And Tom Kalinske's like, this is great! Brings it to Sega of Japan, and they're like, no, fuck you. And so the company's like, well, we spent a bunch of money on this, what do we do? Let's take it to Nintendo, and it becomes the N64. So yeah, there are many decisions where, like, Sega just shot themselves in the foot repeatedly. To say nothing of, like, their marketing, of the debacle that was the Sega CD and the 32X, which just saddled them with loads of debt and pretty much killed the trust that, like, third parties and consumers had for Sega. But, like, it would be fascinating to me, like, you know, all those discussions about time machines and, like, I want to go back and kill Hitler before he does things. That's good. That's important. But, like, I must admit, I am oddly curious. What would have happened to the gaming industry if Sega hadn't repeatedly shot itself in the dick?
Renato slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at all.
Because Sega was well on its way to potentially dethroning
He reached her
Nintendo.
bedroom. She was curled up on her bed. Oh, he'd forgotten how beautiful she was. How sleek. How soft. He tapped her on the shoulder with his sword. She vanished. And he suddenly noticed he couldn't move except his mouth. In fact, soon he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He told Zenobia everything. Sky River, the Iblistone, even where the secret rebel base was, until he was hoarse.
Nay.
It was some kind of truth spell. A talky truth spell. She called her father
It was
by
Wonder
far-speaker
Woman's
tone
lasso of
and filled His
truth.
Majesty in.
Because the creator of Wonder Woman was into kinky things.
Croaked the far speaker in. something like His
Considering
Majesty's
she
croak.
came from
Because
an
I
island
missed
of
you, darling.
Amazons, yeah.
Renata grinned. He doesn't even know why, frowned Zenobia. That makes no sense. It's a trap, shouted the Emperor. I'll meet you at the outpost.
He's a very drooly toad.
Interrogators.
Yeah, a little bit,
Renata
yeah.
came face to face with the Emperor. Maybe he could assassinate him. But maybe it would be smarter and safer to turn Zenobia against her father.
Okay, we're gonna go for the top option here.
Okay.
You're lying, she said. Somehow you're lying. The spell hadn't worn off yet. He had to tell the truth. The trick was in making sure she wouldn't
Well,
believe
clearly
it.
it's gonna be like that
Because
one
it's
scene
perfectly safe.
in Shrek the Third where Pinocchio
And he
had
tried
to
his
twist everything
hardest
around to
sound
keep the
sincere.
information from Prince
So was
Charming.
the Iblistone.
Ah, God, I hated that scene. I was not a fan of Shrek the Third in general, but
Yeah, most people
I-
are.
She said angrily.
I remember seeing
I
that
gave you
scene
a
and being
chance.
like,
The Emperor's interrogators were not especially gentle.
Now you know how
Even by
the three little
reasonable
pigs
standards.
felt and basically squealed.
Fortunately, Zenobia had locked him in the guest quarters on her ship. And she'd forgotten it had a toilet that...
Well,
like
back out the
most
toilet.
toilets,
Yep.
Could be vented into
We're
the
going
abyss.
down the crapper.
This was not the sort of...
I remember-
fox he wanted to be.
I remember that being a joke in at least one version of a Brawl in the Family thing.
Leapt through the open latrine.
Hey, Mario, what are you doing in there? That was not a warp pipe.
And then it just makes me think of Joe Dirt.
Ah, God, it's been forever since I've seen Joe Dirt.
At least
Yeah.
this part of the Nexus
Like really,
hadn't
the only
changed.
parts I really remember was like the
Zenobia
beginning and
hadn't taken
then
him
the
to the
stuff with
Imperial
the
Outpost.
quote-unquote
She'd
meteorites.
never expect him to go there by himself. Well,
You're talking to my friend all wrong.
you never
You do
knew.
it again. I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron.
Could be the new aerobics craze. Am I right?
I know at one point during the during when Star Trek: The Next Generation was on the air, they were considering having Worf do like Michael Dorn as Worf do like an aerobics / martial arts video with the Batleth, the Klingon sword. But then they were like, that's probably a terrible idea because some nerd is going to like slice their hand off.
I mean, if it was just a plastic sword, they would be fine, I'm sure, but...
They'd still find a way.
Yeah, true.
But still, we could have had Warper size.
Yeah. Instead, we had Tybo. Which we had to do in gym class in elementary school.
Bernardo knew Zenobia, and Zenobia knew
I don't
him.
even know if that's
He'd
still around.
suspected the trick. Now he'd vanished. She would probably guess that was his plan all along. Perfect. Maybe she wouldn't use the Sky River. At least not without taking it to the scientists at the observatory first. Meanwhile, the Emperor would be coming to the outpost personally. This could be good. Giving the Emperor all of the rebellion's secrets hadn't been quite the disaster he'd thought. It had drawn the Emperor out of the safety of his fleet. Bernardo could sneak into the outpost, and in a few sword strokes, he could win the war. But
You need all four to end the war tonight.
Renato wondered if there was
Inglorious Bastards, such a fantastic movie.
Haven't seen that yet either.
Okay, okay. That one we definitely need to change. Actually, it's funny. I remember, like, I saw that at the movie tavern. I saw that in theaters when it came out. I wasn't planning to, but I wound up seeing it. And I loved it. So, like, it was sometime after we moved to Oklahoma. I was back here, and we had the opportunity to watch it. Like, it was on free HBO or something. I don't remember. And my mom's like, I want to watch it. I'm like, are you sure? It's very violent. And she absolutely loved it, aside from the very violent scenes, but...
Where's my daughter?
I mean, you said she ended up loving the Deadpool movies, so...
Renato grinned at him.
She was in shock for the first 45 minutes of the first one.
Didn't she? Ah, don't be ridiculous, said Renato, trying his best to sound convincing. She loves you. Oh, I knew it. The rabbit told me I couldn't trust her. The Emperor hopped out the door. His phalanx of bodyguards retreated carefully. Renato heard someone call, "Arrest her!" as they left. Well, that's a job well done, thought Renato. Now the fleet will be in all sorts of disarray. But maybe he could find her in the mountains. She always used to go to the mountains to hide from the world. Maybe he could even turn her against her father. Or maybe he could reap the benefits of the chaos he had sown. It was time to report to the Rebel Council, and then launch the attack on a divided and very confused Imperial fleet.
We should report to the council.
Hell yeah.
Renato was very proud of himself. He told the Empire everything, but now they didn't believe anything, and it looked like the Emperor didn't trust his daughter anymore either. There were some advantages to having a slippery reputation, weren't there?
But Slippy Toad doesn't exist in this universe, or does he?
Renato wondered if he'd really fooled the
New
Empire.
Star Fox,
He
please.
guessed he'd know soon enough.
Actually, by the time this goes up, we may have gotten a Nintendo Direct by then, and may have...
Relegated secret location. They certainly seemed to be looking for it. There were ravens
He
everywhere.
turned into Beaker.
But where weren't there
Apparently, I don't know what the hell happened there.
Me, 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 me. You're adorable.
Hey.
He missed her.
I really like the mariachi version of Take On Me.
Acacia, the kid's mother. Renato had
Oh.
never thought he'd date a librarian. He'd always figured himself to be a barmaid type. But then, he'd never figured the library of Ubar would have comic books, or that Hypatia would know anything about them. He missed her.
So yeah, she was the lady who gave us... She's how we got the magic book, yes.
Yes.
And I think she comes up again in in the golden ending, potentially.
Probably.
Meep, 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 meep.
Maybe the Emperor had attacked Zenobia. The Ravens, divided into two armies, would slaughter each other, and the rebellion could just show up and claim victory.
That's basically why Neo Zeon lost in Double Zeta Gundam.
There's no point in me using the altar. I don't have the skill points.
I can't use those things together. What? Wait, hang on. I can't pick that up. No, really, I can't pick that up. Salmon Max.
And then, of course, the one scene in Grim Fandango. What do you tell him to go pick up the cat litter?
Ah, God, I love that scene. I love just that was a well-crafted joke.
Mm-hmm.
There are many scenes in that game that I laugh unreasonably hard at. Hey, Glottis, what do you think of the stuff they pack canned ham in? Like, I asked our server today while we were recording this, like, what games they enjoy seeing us play, and one of our server members, one of our friends, mentioned they like it when we play random indie games.
Mm-hmm.
So I started brainstorming some potential ones. Like, I feel like the Lux Slinger would potentially be interesting if I could remember how that game works. I haven't played it, I've just seen it LP'd. But then I was like, let's play VVVVVV. I've beaten the game, I've 100%ed the main story of it, but, I could see, like, most of the game will be running smoothly, and then we get to, like, 2 specific sections of the game, and we're just stuck there for, like, 10 videos. Veni Vidi Vici, man.
It was actually very
Bless
fine
you.
weather, except for the occasional shower of ravens. And no one was burning the ruins down with the mighty power of a god's eye. If the Empire believed anything he'd said, they certainly weren't showing it. Hey, how do you tell if someone's far away, or just really small?
By the smell?
Give me a lever, said Archimedes, and I shall open a gate. The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good.
That's always a promising sign.
Yeah. If fire doesn't live here now, then you're safe. Unless you're a fire genasi or some kind of fire elemental in general. Then there's a question of why fire doesn't live here now.
But what if I have a fire for making stew?
Well, it only partially lives there.
But what if it's like a perpetual stew or something like that? God, there are restaurants in China, I believe, that do the perpetual stew thing, which... That's such a cool concept to me.
Renata remembered when the government had introduced the healing fruit. Some people said it was going to bankrupt the economy, but it seemed to work very well.
That's such an odd joke!
Yeah.
Like, it's not a bad joke, it's just... weird! Game, are you okay?
I don't know. We have the rebel base hiding underneath a giant stone penis. What do you think?
Is that what that is? I thought it was some form of Birdman.
I don't know.
To the rebel council.
I'm just guessing at this point.
They weren't laughing, just staring at him with those big bug eyes. Zenobia let you escape? Asked the speaker. How do we know you're not a double agent?
I'm not smart enough to
Are
be
we
a double
telling you
agent.
at all? Maybe you're trying to sound like an idiot, so we don't realize how clever you are.
No, I'm genuinely an idiot.
Yeah.
No, I promise you, I really am that much of an idiot. Renato was about to say when a half-dozen Imperial ships began to bomb the base. He's betrayed us, croaked the toads, and Renato decided it would be good to be somewhere else. He boarded the Farfarer and got out of there. The wind ruffled Renato's fur the wrong way. So the rebels thought he was lying too? Because a half-dozen lousy dropships that probably just tripped over the rebel base? Okay, technically, he had betrayed its location, but not willingly. And he'd made up for it, hadn't he? Then something exploded. A cannon shot. The Farfarer plunged out of the clouds. The rebels had hit his ship. As the Farfarer plummeted towards the abyss, he launched himself into the sails of an Imperial ship.
Whee!
Welp, we lost our boat. Time to steal another boat.
We're gonna have to commandeer
The Farfarer
the
was
Interceptor,
gone.
so that way we can go
It had
after the
been a
Black Pearl.
beautiful ship.
Yep.
And fast. He could do the Kestrel run in 12 furlongs, or so the salesman had told him. He would show them. He would be the hero of the final battle. They'd know whose side he was on then. That's what it meant to be a hero. To go on fighting, even when both sides were trying to kill you. The portal was heavily guarded. It must go someplace they really didn't want him to go.
It goes to,
Princess Peach's secret slide.
sure, we'll go with that.
Again, if I ever actually make a level in Mario Maker, the one concept I want to do, and I don't know how viable it is, but Colonel Sanders' secret slide.
Smashy, smashy. Take that flag.
If they make a Mario Maker 3, and this is because like I've spent a lot of time looking at Mario ROM hacks, so I'm a little bit. Mario Maker is great for what it is. I love Mario Maker, but if you look at like various Super Mario World ROM hacks, you kind of look at Super Mario Maker and are like, this could be more. Like, there could be, like, more story elements that you could potentially add to the games you are making for Mario Maker. I would love for that to be a thing. Like, the potential to insert, I don't know, cutscenes, dialogue boxes, something, you know? Make it so there's more of a coherent narrative in the little worlds you're creating. Again, I love Mario Maker, it's great. Of course, several people have posited the idea of like me doing
Everywhere.
videos of video games with cooking mechanics, and Griffin brought it up because I told her about the Spiritfarer LP. Like, I can't remember how it came up, but I'm like, yeah, we did Spiritfarer. It made me angry. This is why. It's like the cooking mechanics. Yeah. And she's like, oh my god, of course they fucking did.
The next Landstar stream, Lantern tries cooking mama. And no, I mean the actual cooking mama, not the PETA ripoff.
You know, Star Ocean, the second story, has cooking mechanics, but it's very bare bones. Although each character does have a favorite food.
Is anyone's favorite food green salad or corn dogs?
Corn dogs aren't in the game, as far as I recall. Ashton's was hamburgers. I feel like Ernest's... It got translated in-game to tea, but it was absolutely some form of alcohol.
But that's not food, that's a drink.
Yeah, I know that. You know that, but the game apparently doesn't know that.
That doesn't make you angry?
Well, it's just favorite food item, and drinks apparently count. One character, I think it was IS Flack. His was like chicken skewers. Fucking the little shit wizard kid with the rabbit ears. I think his was carrot juice.
Of course it was.
And Celine, the black mage whose clothing I genuinely don't understand how her clothing works. Hers was baby rabbit risotto, and that was the first time I'd heard of risotto.
Renato reached the Emperor's ship, and there he saw a strange sight. Zenobia being led in shackles by Lapino with a squad of ravens. What? Lapino was working with the ravens? Was he some sort of traitor? Of course Lapino was working with the ravens. But the Emperor still thought Zenobia was a traitor? Renato felt oddly bad about that. Should he run down there and rescue her? Oh, but she was the enemy. Then he heard a whistling sound. He looked straight up and saw a rebel ship. It was dropping rather large bombs. One of them kept getting bigger as it fell. Huh? Oh.
Well.
Oh, that's what they mean by far
again?
away, or not.
But he already had all the secrets he needed. He was sure of that. He must have not used them the right way. What was the worst mistake he could make?
Do you think the game's trying to tell us something?
Trusting that
Yeah,
traitor Lapino.
it's pretty much being like, would you actually get the damn ending already?
Don't care.
Yeah.
Doing other shit.
Exactly. Once we get all these nice little story beats, then we can worry about your fancy schmancy true ending. But until
We weren't originally planning to do this, but we decided to do this.
Yeah.
So hey.
partially because none of us have seen all the endings yet. 'Cause I'm kind of curious to see how batshit insane some of these can get. But we'll take care of more of these in the next episode. Until then, we're the Landstars saying thank you very much for watching.
Meep, 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 meep.